It's podcast time. Austin, it's podcast time.
Oh yeah, is it ever?
It's 40K Fanatics Podcast. Your favorite, maybe, question mark, miniatures war game podcast?
It's my favorite podcast.
It's the only one I'm on, so I'd say it's got to be my favorite too. It appears to be quite a few people's favorites. We've got a big Vox channel to open up this week. We had another movie pod come out this last week where we did Star Trek V, The Final Frontier. It was hilarious. There were some jokes in there. There was some good discussion and whatnot.
Mm-hmm.
That was the Shatner directed one. It was very silly, I thought. Yeah, and we got a lot of comments on various things. I want to remind everybody that we have a Discord, and the Discord is totally free to join. And you can come in there and show us your own bits box, what you've done in the hobby. Give us suggestions for show topics, which we're doing one today. We're doing a Dave and Company frequent contributor. I think we might have some comments of his to read as well. But we're going to do one of his show topic suggestions that he left in the Discord. So go in the Discord and let us know what you think. Lately we've been a bit spicy, and today we're going to be a little less spicy because too much spice can upset your tum-tum.
Oh, can it? Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't like spice.
I do too. I'm just partially Mexican enough to have never had any kind of heartburn, and my tum-tum tends to be quite fortified against the spice. Yeah, no, it's I hear people talking about how they feel after they eat some spicy stuff, and I'm just like, ooh, I'm blessed. Blessed, I say.
I take one bit of a pepper and I die.
Yeah. You're the sort. If you don't have your SPFs on when you go outside, you'll explode.
Yeah.
But let's open up the Vox channel, and right off, I've got Dave and Company here. This is on the Does 40K Need a Reboot? Oh no, I think I may have read this one last time, but I've got a different one. This is from Nerd Bro. I definitely read both of these last time. Scrolling ahead. I just screenshot these things, folks. Here we go. This one is Scratch63, and this is also from Does 40K Need a Reboot. They say, I really do not understand the whole space ladies in the fake space world debate. Who cares? Maybe only make them custodies, as it's a very fine-tuned super-duper space marine. Nor do I really care about the Primaris issue. They've explained their way into it. Maybe it could use more depth. The universe of 40K allows for the explanation into and out of anything, and there's reason they can't do it with either of these issues. If you want to call it a cop-out to sell more models, I'll take that. But to smash your face against your keyboard in the name of lore is absolutely insane.
Mm-hmm.
I like that. Okay, and then at some point we had discussion about the Star Wars sequel series, and
Yeah.
I thought that Coruscant was destroyed by Starkiller Base in The Force Awakens, and DeMart I.J. Van Breck says, the planet destroyed in The Force Awakens was indeed not Coruscant, but Hosnian Prime.
Yeah, Hosnian Prime.
Yeah, which... Where was that revealed? Probably in some sort of 2-issue comic book thing.
It was like in the DK like Guide to Star Wars Force Awakens book, probably.
Not to do a Star Wars podcast, because we say that we're not going to do that, but when we do a movie, as we try to do once a month, we do tend to touch on these. But that sequel trilogy and the way that it has attempted to make sense of itself post-release with books, comic books, mini-series and things, all just being crushed under the weight of not having a game plan when they started that thing is crazy to me.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, what a fumble.
Yeah.
I mean, I suppose they made a ton of money, so maybe they don't care. Here's another one from our movie pod. This one is from J.V. Coulter, and he's sorting out a little bit of the sort of how we got there with the movies. And he says, success in syndication in the early 70s, this is speaking about Star Trek. spurred both the convention phenomenon and talk of a second series to be called Star Trek Phase 2. All actors except Nimoy were signed, models, sets, and costumes were prepared, film tests for characters, etc. In the middle of this, Star Wars became the summer blockbuster of '77, proving audience appetite for big screen science fiction. And Phase 2 was retailored to be a movie. The result was Star Trek the Motion Picture, the first of the movie's franchise, released in '79.
It's all true.
That's very interesting stuff. Did I get the Skaven thing? I don't think I did. So in the last pod we did, I said I'd screenshot it. Austin, I don't think I did. Do you have this one off the top?
Yeah, I can pull it up.
Um, in the last pod we
Filibuster for me.
Yeah, in the last pod we did, you posed to the audience that the warp connects all of the 40K, well, at least 40K and the old world and Age of Sigmar. And
Yep.
I was thinking more about this because you talked about how, you know, Slanesh existed in the old world, but the old world seems to, especially if we made it like a linear timeline, which it is told to me to not be, uh, Old World is supremely ancient compared to 40K and even the sort of creation of Slanesh. But you pose this idea that that chaos exists out of time. So if Slanesh is ever created at any point in time, then it is created at all points in time, which I think is a real neat way to have things.
Yeah.
Um,
I've got that comment if you want.
Wonderful.
I'll read
Who's
it
it
out
by?
loud. It is by Paradukes, and he says this is from our Does the Warp Connect 40K to Warhammer Fantasy. He says in Temple of the Serpent, that's a book for Warhammer Fantasy novel. A group of Skaven use a communications apparatus that spoke to beings beyond the stars, and it's implied that they accidentally used it to call the Eldari. That said, I believe Games Workshop was originally down for mixing the settings. However, people liked, including uh, sorry, it was grammar was a little weird.
It's all right.
That being said, I believe Games Workshop was originally down for mixing the settings. However, people liked, including an entry in the third edition Necron Codex that suggests using Lizardmen from Warhammer Fantasy for the old ones. But recently, they've come down harder on delineating the two settings aside from vague hints of a shared universe.
I'm going to read one more from Does the Warp Connect 40K. This one comes from Spotify, where you can leave a comment. And also, if you guys have option to listen on various platforms, we would love for you to listen on Spotify. Get on there and rate us 5 stars, and listen on Spotify above all, because I think if we put all our eggs in the Spotify basket, then we may more rapidly grow. This one comes from Dave and Company as well. My own personal headcanon. This is on Does the Warp Connect 40K. Old World is how the Emperor sees things while on the Golden Throne. As someone who has lived through medieval times, he is familiar with all that. While on the Golden Throne, he is basically having a fever dream. But because he's psychic, these are real events in real space somewhere. But he's seeing it through the prism of a Golden Throne fever dream. That's how I see it. LOL. I like that. I bet you like that less because it makes it very like 40K centric, you know?
I just don't care for it.
Um, but I don't dislike it, especially if, you know, Age of Sigmar seems to me like, again, if you make it all a 40K centric universe, it feels like Age of Sigmar is some sort of offshoot of the Emperor's spirit, psychic will, etc. Um, but that is the Vox channel, and be sure to leave comments in all the various places. We see them all and often like to respond to them. There were some others in the comments on Does 40K Need a Reboot that were quite funny. But I don't know if they would be appropriate to read, but we're sure going to let them live over on the YouTube. It is now time for the Bits Box. Let's open it up. The Bits Box is a part of the show where we talk about what we've done in the miniature hobby or in fish tank hobby or in backyard chicken rearing hobby this week. So, Austin, what have you been doing hobby wise? Miniature games or
Well,
otherwise?
as you know, I have been working on getting the goblins ready for our first game, but last week I had to take a seat on the back burner because I had a secondary hobby come up. Uh, I have for months now been saving up for a Lego set, and this is the Lion Knight's Castle, which I consider to be the best Lego set that Lego has ever created.
It is a thing to behold, and all I've seen is the box and a few pictures of your progress.
Yes, this is a $400 Lego set. It is 450. It is 4,500 pieces. It is very large, very dense, very dense build with lots of insides and nooks and crannies. It folds out like a traditional castle toy you would see. It's very much a big boys Lego castle. It's an 18 plus set. It's got over 20. I think it has 21 or 22 minifigures. It's got animals, horses, an ox, lamb. It's an absolute marvel to behold, and I've been saving up months for it. Finally, had enough money saved up to get it, and then had to wait a little bit more time because it went on back order. So another month of waiting. It finally came in last week, so I have about every bit of free time I have is put towards building Legos for the past week, and
It,
I am still not even halfway done.
that's awesome. I mean, the instruction book is, what did you say, 600 some odd pages worth?
Yeah, it's split into two parts for each half of the castle.
Wow.
It is massive. I'm gonna have to find a place to put this thing.
Yeah, that's going to
Uh,
be awesome.
yeah.
I went with my dad yesterday. The wife has interest in chickens. And I mean, if this isn't a hobby situation, I don't know what is. Eggs are expensive, but you know what's real expensive? Uh, Chickens.
Oh
So,
yeah.
so we're fighting back by a greater expenditure of having chickens. But anyhow, we rolled down with a trailer and a truck to Marianna, Arkansas, to get my recently passed grandmother's chicken coop out of her backyard. This thing, it it was so heavy that at first attempt at lifting a corner, I asked, "Is this staked to the ground?" And it was not. So we had a PVC rollers and a lever and fulcrum, and got it up on the rollers and shoved it along, moving it as the Egyptians possibly made the pyramids. But we got it all the way from the backyard to the driveway onto a trailer, drove it up, unloaded it off the trailer, moving it in the same manner and into quite precise position into the backyard. And
Oh yeah.
everybody still has all their fingers and toes, but it was
Good.
it was all we could do, man. And so now we're gonna have chickens in the backyard. I've been working very, very slowly on my high elves. They're still going on. I have got to paint some base rims black, and another dozen high elf archers are ready for the battlefield. Um, and then I'm going to paint the elven prince or noble. You told me to build him with a banner for a bunch of reasons that made a lot of sense for the game, about how he has an aura of leadership that would help with various things. And then I got into the kit, and he had a really big quiver of arrows that was a choice bit, and a big old bow, and a big sword, and like three different types of helmets, and a cape. And so by the time it was all said and done, um, well, now he's got a bow and a sword and a cape. The banner remains on the sprue. Perhaps I'll get another for the banner guy, but this dude looked too cool. I set him up a tactical rock out of some cork. I put it at a little angle so that he'll sort of be climbing the rock, standing atop it. It's going to be sick.
Oh yeah. He's gonna be like sniping from the front lines.
Probably. Probably. I
Oh,
don't, I don't really know how the characters attach. Perhaps he attaches to a bow squad, or maybe he goes with a spear squad. I don't know. But
the spear squad and move him up. He'll just take a -1 penalty if he moves, or if you just have the spears stand still in like a defensive line, he could just sit there and hit things until they come up for contact. Give him a one of those magic bows. I think there's one for high elves that like basically turns him into a bolt thrower.
The Bow of Avalorn.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's gonna be great. It's gonna be great. Now I'm gonna paint him up real nice. That's the plan. Perhaps I'll do a thing I'm quite good at is a sort of patinaed copper armor, and I think I might put him
Hmm.
in that, so he'll look great. And then he'll have a blue cape to match the rest of my squad, and maybe a yellow quiver because blue and yellow are the colors of the army.
Yeah.
And then
Sounds
I'll
good.
yeah, it's gonna be great. Other than that. I played a game of Crusade this week.
I remember you telling me about that.
Lord Henry and Henry's heroes finally got out of their losing streak, played the homie Jenny and her Tyranids, and the Tyranid swarm was dispatched. We stomped every bug on the table. We're playing the Nakman Gauntlet Crusade, where things deep strike with special rules, and your army has to come in waves. And we had our first um, teleporter mishap. So
Oh wow.
she attempted uh, to precision deep strike a winged hive tyrant right down onto my raptors. Now, when you do the precision deep strike, which by the way, I think this should just be a rule in the game. I think we should use this system all the time because it's awesome. You take a precision deep strike test. You roll 2d6. On a 4 plus, everything's fine. You go down within 3 inches of your target, which is quite close. However, you take a -1 penalty to that test for every model within 9 inches of you.
Ooh.
Yeah, so the way that works is you can't precision deep strike onto a unit of 10 because if you go within 3 inches and you got 10 guys within 9, and it's any unit, right? So there could be another unit
Hmm.
close by. So you could have 12 models within that 9-inch bubble that's messing up your deep strike. And so you're going to have a
Yeah.
mishap where you then roll on a random table for what happens to you. Um,
Hmm.
which I think is a real elegant way to solve the problem of 3-inch deep strikes too powerful, which we see all the time. You know, they've now changed that in all the data sheets to be 6 inches or more because
Hmm.
if there's no negative to trying to do it, then you just get as many things as possible to do it.
Yeah.
But I thought this is a great idea because your screening units, which tend to be things like Sisters of Silence or whatever they're called, and
Hmm.
cultists, guardsmen, right? Things that come in units of 10, they are still effective screeners for your home objective and things because you can't really jump in on them. You can jump in on a lonely single character if he's all out by himself, or perhaps the 3-inch deep strike becomes more like 6 or 7 because you're trying to minimize how many other models are nearby in that radius. You see,
Yeah.
um, but anyhow, her winged hive tyrant tried to jump in on my raptors. I had 4 of them, so she's -4. She rolled something like 3 on the test,
Hmm.
so -1. So you roll on the table, and the result she got on the table was take D3 mortal wounds, be battle shocked, and then do it again outside of 12 inches of the intended landing zone.
Oh man.
So then she had to just pick a different spot on the table, take another test. She picked a spot where there was only one model nearby, so passed the test, and there he was. D3
Hmm.
mortal wounds, lesser, and still battle shocked. But I thought, man, that is fun. Because all of a sudden he's
Yeah.
like, well, what am I doing here in the middle of the battlefield?
Uh huh.
It was cool. But
Sounds cool.
yeah, and that's in the Natman Gauntlet Crusade book, and I think it might be cool if you just maybe printed up that one sheet because the whole precision deep strike rules are on one sheet. I mean, you
Hmm.
try it out on your match play games and let me know how it goes because I think it'd just be more fun.
This
It'll
is the beta rules for 3K Fanatics. This is our own beta rule set we're going to be putting out to make the game fun.
Yeah, that's probably a good
Mix and
idea.
match.
Yeah, we're gonna make our own tournament pack where it specifically says for terrain no paintball fields.
Yeah.
Everybody's head will explode. But that's my bits box for this week. Do you have anything else, sir?
Uh, I did some maintenance on the aquarium before we did the podcast. Kind of kept you waiting on that.
Yeah. Aquarium's
Uh,
going good.
yeah, I'm just dealing with some algae because I'm in the ugly stage right now. So trying to get that cleaned up, trying to get my nutrients balanced with that. I had an embarrassing mistake that came up while I was my maintenance. I was trying to refill my water up, and I have a saltwater tank, so of course I have to try to get the salinity right before I add the water to the tank. And I don't know what I was thinking, but I thought I remembered the bag saying half a cup or a cup to a gallon of salt to water would create as my right salinity. For some reason, I remembered that, and then I went to go do the water, and when I tested my salinity of my bucket of water I was going to add to my tank, it was like double what it was supposed to be. So I ended up going from the sea to the Dead Sea, and my salinity had to. That's one reason I was late coming here because I had to redo my water. Had to redo my water. I was going to put out, dump it out, and then redo it, so I wasn't like salting my fish.
Wow.
Yeah,
That's crazy. Good thing you
yeah,
didn't
it's
just
going
dump it
well.
in there.
I know. I'm glad I checked it.
Oh, you would have had to, what, carry it outside and run a hose into it until it got right or something.
I'd have to
And just
keep
hope
doing water
everybody
changes. Yeah.
survived. Wow. Well, let's close the bits box.
Closing it. Oh,
Today, we're going to, on our main topic, we're going to discuss a fun one. This is just good stuff. This is going to be good for you guys to comment on and let us know things, because possibly you'll inspire us to better our situations. This one comes from our listener, Dave and Company, via Discord, where I asked for some listener um, show ideas, and there's a whole channel in there that you can join our Discord and go in there and suggest things that you'd like us to talk about, and we certainly will, because we run out of things to talk about. The yoke of content creation weighs heavy upon our shoulders, as it does. And today, what we are talking about is, what is your dream game setup? So, the place you play, at home, at the friendly local game store, what would it be if you could have it any way you want, or what do you have should your dream have already been realized? And now, I've got a pretty slick game setup myself. But I figure that you, Austin, have got many ideas about perhaps a future homestead with its own space for gaming and hobbying.
oh yeah, I've been thinking about that lately.
What you got?
Uh, I've been looking at houses lately. Just kind of like daydreaming about becoming a homeowner someday.
It's a
And
lot more fun than people make it sound.
oh, it is a blast. Also, I'm kind of a nosy fellow and like seeing what the insides of other homes look like. Uh, and there's a house recently put up on sale near my location, and I was looking through it, and I saw it had a den inside. It was like kind of attached. I think it had some kind of a hallway wing to the outside, like a thin hallway, and then connected to a garage and a den. I think it was
Ooh.
like a den that then had a door to the garage. I was looking at that and it had kind of like bay windows going on, window doors, and uh, I was just looking at that and it was kind of like paneled with wood paneling on the walls, and I love wood paneling on
I
walls.
love wood
My
paneling.
girlfriend hates she hates wood paneling on walls. And I'm like, no, this is the best thing ever. I love wood paneling on walls. There's something so cozy about it.
I was born out of time because I mean, and I'm quite a bit older than you. So I was born in 87, and I did not grow up in a house with wood paneling, but there were many places that I would go to where it would just be wall to wall wood paneling and that brown and yellowish carpet that never under any circumstance could look clean, and is just
Yeah,
everything is brown, and a lot of people hate that. The other thing that you would get in those places is you would have that staining on the ceiling from smoking indoors,
yeah,
right? Like they did in the 20th century, and
hmm
that to me feels so cozy. I
yeah.
don't know
Some of
why.
my some of my best memories are in places like that.
Yeah, and now you about can't find a place that has much of that. And the wood
Hmm.
paneling is sky high anywhere you go. But man, if I walked into somebody's gaming area and it was wood paneling, wall to wall, maybe with some old tchotchkes on little shelves on it, just left from the last grandma that owned the place, oh,
Yeah,
that would get me in the mood to play some Rink and Flink.
yeah. So this place had that, and uh, something came up. Yeah, this place had it, and it was just. I was like, man, this is like my dream game area. Just having that, and it had tiled floors, which is okay. I think that's good if you have someone like spill something during a game, like a soda or something. It's easier to clean up. But I was just looking at that, and I could envision a big gaming table in that spot, painting table, painting desk off to one side. Uh, I was like, this is the dream.
Yeah, that's pretty good. You should buy that.
Yeah.
It's a good thing interest rates aren't high. Oh wait, they are. They are.
But yeah,
I think they're
we
about to
are
come
in the
down.
best of times, and we're in the best of times and the worst of times.
No doubt.
Mostly worst of times. But yeah, and then also just imagining putting up shelving to hold things like Legos or miniature armies on display cases, so I can just take them out and play with them when games come up. And just
Yeah,
having just pictures on the wall and everything. Just it's a I feel like that's a dream of a lot of like gamers is to have their game space.
that's the key, right? Is to have one
Yeah,
room that's dedicated, that's set up, that's ready to go. Um, Question for you: do you
yeah.
like the idea of the hobby space being in the game space? Because I've got my two separate,
Uh, yes. I
but
feel like I feel like if you've got it depends on your space. If
sure.
you only have enough space to have the game space, then maybe you can have the hobby space somewhere else. Or sorry, let me think about that again. I think what it is if you've got the space to have two separate spaces, you can do that. You can go ahead and have your two spaces. But at the same time, I feel like if you were to combine both spaces, that kind of like fuels like this is the me area, this is my hobby area.
Oh yeah, I see what you're saying. I mean, look, we're
You can kind
talking.
of get
Sure, we're talking dream hobby space. So say
yeah
that you've got this giant compound if you want, because I wonder, works in progress can be so messy. It can look
yeah
so like you're just building a spaceship over there. Sometimes when I'm doing a lot of airbrushing, I'll have a ripped in half piece of trash bag across my whole
yeah
hobby desk, and that doesn't look very slick. So
yeah.
I wonder. I think it'd be ideal if it's separate, but I guess it doesn't matter.
I
Thy,
think
unless your partner played too, in which case they could be having their friends over to play a game, and you don't have a game, but you want a hobby, then you got to have them separate.
yeah I feel like
But
I don't know, I feel
then we're
like
really dreaming.
yeah we're kind of in a there's the energy I'm talking about. Like you got the hobby feng shui that goes on with having everything together. I feel like if your space is big enough, you can go ahead and have both in there. If you have your hobby like dedicated to one corner, this is where I paint and build. Is this corner here? I designate this space off, so it doesn't really matter what it looks like as long as everything else kind of flows into it with the sort of creative spirit. Uh, Whereas if you're kind of like tight on space, no one really wants to play in like a bedroom sized room where like half of it's being taken up by like a painting desk and you've got all your like boxes and everything like kind of stacked up in one corner, and you got the desk, and your paints are kind of like starting to encroach upon the gaming area. And you go in to play the game, and the guy's like, "Oh, let me move all my Warhammer boxes and sprues off the game table so we can play."
Yeah, in my spot, the game table is always clean and always ready to be set up to play. Now I've got a cat, so the uh, the terrain can't stay set up, but
Mhm.
definitely you're right about if your hobby stuff starts to overflow and the
Yeah,
gaming table starts to become a storage area, you can really it almost diffuses all that hobby feng shui you're talking about, because I know what you're saying is if you could walk into your wood paneled spot, shut the door,
Hmm.
the you can do whatever you want with the lights, crank them up, crank them down, right? And
Yeah.
you've got a set up table. Maybe you've got your old world army like deployed on it.
Hmm.
Like, and then you've got your hobby area in the far corner where you're working on some other old world stuff. Like that would just be so inspiring to be able to finish up the last steps of a unit, walk them over to the table, and set them down next to their comrades.
Yeah.
Oh man. Uh,
Yeah. And I
however,
feel like,
if the thing's covered in boxes, it's the opposite effect. It's like, oh great.
yeah,
Even if I
I feel like
finish
if
these,
you,
I've got a storage problem to solve.
yeah, and if you start doing that, if you start getting into that thing of your hobby space and your game place being together but too small, you could end up in the case where you're like, I need to set some hobby stuff down that I'm working on. Oh, look, I got a table I can set it on. I'll just put it there. You kind of get that mindset of, oh, here's a space I can put it down. Here's a flat surface. Here's a flat surface, and then you end up becoming kind of a Warhammer hoarder, a war hoarder going on.
No, it's a bad way to be. It's a bad way to be. Um,
Yeah.
I tell you what is not a dream space is temporary spots, temporary setups. Setting up the Rubbermaid table in the kitchen. That's a tough way to go.
Yeah.
And you know, I understand everybody's got to do what they got to do. However, we're talking about the best ways to have it. That's what this is. This pod today is wish list type stuff, and we want to hear about yours. So get in the comments and let us know. But man, purpose built table is such a game changer. So I built my own table. It is 1 foot longer than you need for a full scale 40K game, and six
Hmm.
inches wider than you need on both sides, so another foot um, on the on along the long sides.
Yeah.
So when you put the official big neoprene battle mat on, you've got a whole foot for a dice tray, which I've got a big dice tray that just lives there; it doesn't move. Then you've got space for all your cards, all your other units, and then the game space ends up totally open. And so
Hmm.
part of any dream setup, I think, is custom table. Whether you put
Oh yeah.
shelves underneath it for storage, you can do that, or whether it's got cup holders and things like that along the sides. Those are all good options. But you know, get your woodworking hat on and build yourself a custom table. Because the other thing is, there's a lot of custom tables that you can buy that are nice, and I mean they're prohibitively expensive, but from proper furniture makers that do game tables. But so
Hmm.
many of them are for D&D because D&D and role playing games are so popular. And I believe that you want your miniatures war games table to be bar height so that you stand and play, because
Yeah.
they're too big, you have to move around too much to be seated. So what I do is I've got two little folding stools, and when you come over,
Hmm.
both players get a stool, and then the table's high so you're standing, and that tends
Hmm.
to work really well, and then there's enough space to walk all the way around it in both directions, so you can uh, a thing you can get is deployments that feel funny. And so if you can
Yeah.
walk all the way around it, if it's bar height, if you've got a couple of available stools, you don't ever get that. Now,
Hmm.
for my own game space, so I've got a dedicated room. It's got shelves and cabinets. You've seen it. I
Yeah.
painted the entire thing matte black,
Hmm.
which feels very, you know, it makes it feel big.
Yeah.
It's quite bright in there. We've got the custom table. I've got cabinets with all of my miniatures around the perimeter of the room, which I think is nice.
Hmm.
Uh, don't sleep on a corner cabinet. Those corner cabinets are great because they don't feel like they in any way impede your route around the room or around the table, and they look great.
Hmm.
I've recently put lights in all of them, so now I can push a button, and even in the dark, you can light up all the shelves to see the miniatures. They look great.
Well.
It's really
Hmm.
cool to just pull your stuff directly off the shelf and put it right on the table when someone comes over.
Hmm.
The hobby area is separate. It's in another part of the house. And
Yeah.
so mine is pretty much the dream setup for me. At some stage, I may put a TV on the wall, but
Oh,
I
that'd be
don't.
good.
I don't know what we'd put on it, uh, because you don't have a ton of time to watch a show while you're playing 40k. But it could be neat
Hmm.
just to have, I don't know, who knows what Warhammer Plus stuff going with the sound off. That could be neat.
Yeah.
Um, the thing that I would add to really complete my dream setup is cameras.
Really.
Yes, the thing that I really like about mine, with the extra room on the table and the dedicated dice tray and all that, it feels very much like watching your favorite battle report channel play, because
Hmm.
we all roll in the same big dice tray and everybody can see it. It makes a nice sound. There's nothing on the table that doesn't have to do with the game that we're playing, so there's nothing. There's not even anything visible in the background of anything going on that's either not black or something hobby related. So it all
Hmm.
looks and feels like you're totally in 40k or whatever you're playing. You're in the hobby when you're playing with this dedicated space and everything. And I think it'd be really cool if I had like an overhead camera, a dedicated dice tray camera, and then one or two others that possibly could be mounted on the wall or something, with zoomed in shots
Yeah.
where I could mark on the ground the place that the player may stand to talk about what their turn is and things, and then
Hmm.
that make a very cohesive workflow for an edit of a battle report. I think that would be cool. And I don't know if anybody would want to watch me play 40k, but I know I like watching people play 40k, so that might be fun to do.
Yeah. Sounds like it.
I mean, why not, right? I mean, we have
Yeah.
a YouTube channel and a podcast. It feels like the next logical step is to have cameras in the game room to film this stuff.
Hmm.
But that would be a not insignificant undertaking.
Yeah.
I mean, just getting the white balance on some 5 cameras and syncing audio is that's a serious undertaking.
Uh, I guess.
But it would be cool.
Hmm.
The other thing that gets me on that is like keeping track of the. I mean, I don't know. I guess you just sync all 5. It'd be a huge data thing. Like it'd be a
Oh,
storage
yeah.
issue. 5
Hmm.
cameras, 2 3 hours worth of footage. And the only way I can think to keep anything straight, such as the dice camera especially, is just to sync them all and then chop out the parts you don't want at the moment you don't want them.
Yeah.
So, but that could be a future thing. But that's kind of the only thing that I'd like to add to my game space. I I
Hmm.
would like more terrain, different terrain. Certainly not the paintball field. I get all I want of that at the friendly local game store. But
Hmm.
more classic grimdark type of terrain, I think.
Yeah.
Perhaps ye old old world hill.
Can't get wrong. You can't go wrong with the hills.
Sometimes you gotta have a hill or an
Yeah,
old
you get two of
book.
them in a box.
Yeah,
Yeah.
2 to a box. Um, but yeah, that's probably it. That would be the part that would make my dream setup. Um, and there's some other little fine tuning things. I on the cabinets that I've amassed are sort of whatever someone has that looks appropriate from Facebook Marketplace. So
Hmm.
I guess if you had a custom set of cabinets that all matched all the way around, that would be neat. But you get into just, I mean, it's just extravagance at that point, isn't it?
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, we're talking about the dream hobby setup. Is there anything else? I mean, your dream gaming setup is a little bit buy a whole house with an extra room. Um, what else do you envision? I mean, does your dream hobby setup have wood paneling in all realities?
Yeah. At least that's what I'd like to have. It'd probably be dependent on what the rest of the house would look like. Not exactly just going to go uh, in with the mindset of the house has to have wood paneling, the house has to have wood paneling,
Well,
and cut out all other qualifiers.
well, I mean, here's the thing, right? Okay.
Yeah,
Uh, you can always just buy some wood paneling. All you do is tack it on.
that's true.
I mean, they haven't stopped making it. It cost 12 times what it did in the 80s, but you could
Yeah.
still have it. And I mean, if look, it's not like you have to paint it.
No?
You just tack it up to the
I've seen it.
sheetrock.
I've seen it painted.
It looks rough painted.
It, it looks horrible.
It looks horrible. That's the old landlord special. Is we're gonna paint this wood paneling white with a big old nasty roller.
Yeah,
Stuff looks like it's got hair on it.
yeah. I don't know. Maybe a bar or something. Not necessarily like an alcohol bar, but like a little drink area with a fridge and everything, like a see-through fridge with all the different drinks and stuff available. Uh,
So mini bar is the thing that's been on my list of things to build for the wifey, and that would not be bad. So like a corner mini bar with some glass with a mirror, and then you'd have nothing
yeah,
but middle level liquors and things, and then like you say, probably a freezer at the bottom where you could have sodas and cold beers and things. But for me, I mean, I tend to drink hard liquor, so it would just be probably bring a bucket of ice and set it up there at the beginning of the evening, and then we'd have the key to the mini bar is it's got all the different glasses for all the different drinks. So you got your martinis and you got your rocks and you got your tall glasses and things to make all the various drinks. Maybe a little drawer, and in that drawer, a little cocktail making for dummies, so that you could, you know, glance at the instructions on the sly and make something that you've never heard of, and then all your friends think, "Oh man, he's so sophisticated."
yeah.
Yeah.
You know what else I'd like?
What's that?
I want lots of bookshelves. That's what I want.
Yeah, I recently added a bookshelf to mine, and the bookshelf is nice. You get all your Warhammer books and your various comic books and things on there. Um, I find that I'm running out of sidewall for models, and the bookshelf is quite large, but I think it's a must have. At some stage, perhaps the bookshelf will need to be relocated, but as of right now, it was a positive addition to the thing.
Yeah. I've got lots of like novels and stuff I'd like to have displayed.
Yeah, yeah, library
Bookshelf of
gaming
any
area,
kind.
nothing wrong with it. Well,
Yeah.
get in the comments, everybody, and let us know what your dream gaming setup is. Do you have your dream gaming setup? And if you do, think a little harder and let us know if you had $1 billion tomorrow, what you'd add, because I would probably hire somebody to come in and set up all those cameras and make it turnkey, with a dedicated
Yeah.
computer with a giant hard drive and everything that I could just hit record on whatever, and it would largely spit out a finished product. You know what I'm saying?
Oh yeah.
Because I imagine in OBS you could do that, where your dice camera's off to the side and everything's synced up, and then you could just hit record, and you'd end up with a 3.5 hour version of whatever it is, and then you could go back again and edit as needed.
Uh huh.
That wouldn't be too bad, would it?
Not at all.
All right. Well, I'm Shane. That's Austin. And let us know what your dream setup is. Give us 5 stars over on Spotify. Like and subscribe to the YouTube as well. We've got to get to like 1,000 downloads a month, I believe, over on Spotify and the like, so that we can sell you guys some Huel or some Helix mattresses or some Manscaped products, so that we can get paid and more rapidly help Austin reach his dream gaming setup. And until next time, don't forget to
Stay fanatical.